Hello, my name is May Hernon and you're very welcome to Out and About in the USA. We're delighted to have you here in Northern Kentucky. Later on in the programme, we're going to be bringing you down to Lexington to speak with Pat Costello at his Pedigree Horse Farm. And before we leave Lexington, we're going to pop into the Fáilte Ireland shop where we'll be speaking to its owner, Lisa. We'll also be showing you some highlights of the St. Patrick's celebrations that took place in Molly Malone's and around Cincinnati. But first, we're here in Covington, Kentucky. We're going to pop down to Molly Malone's Irish Bar, where we'll be speaking with Carol and Frank Jarbo. Carol has done an in-depth study into the indentured servitude, people that came from Ireland years and years ago.
Well, Carol, you're very welcome to Molly Malone's in Covington, and Frank, you're very welcome as well.
Thank you.
Well, the first time I met you, it would be, about 2 years ago, at the Dublin Irish Festival. I walked into this venue and you were there standing up in all your garb, and from the minute I sat down until the minute you had finished and I got up, you had me. Maggie Delaney and the Indentured Servants, you've done an absolute power of work with the research you've done. How did that all come about?
My husband and I had been in reenacting for about 2 years, and I had done the normal put on the nice clothes, follow everybody around, and I felt like that was not telling anyone anything. And so I heard an excellent lecture by a gentleman who was talking about the lower people that were here in the colonies, and one of the ones he mentioned was indentured servants, and I thought, well, I remember hearing about that, but I don't know much about them, and so I began to research that. And as I did, that unfolded before me, and the more I read, the more horrified I was that this was a story that wasn't being told anywhere. And so I went in and began to do research just on indentured servants, and being Irish in my own background, that's the direction that I went. And the more I found, the more I felt like this was a story that needed to be told and brought out for people to hear.
How long did it take you, all the research you've done?
The research I did was probably about 8 years of total research. Before I wrote this particular story, I did 2 years of research and then another 8 months of going through court records and putting the story together.
Mm-hmm. And Frank, you were playing the part of Maggie's...
Of her owner, yes.
Of her owner.
Yes.
But in your ancestry, tell us about your ancestry.
In my ancestry, my 10th great grandfather. Now the interesting thing is, her ancestry has indentured servants. My ancestry, we owned indentured servants. So my 10th great grandfather owned both slaves and indentures. The interesting thing was, he investigated a crime where an indentured servant was beaten to death. And the court records say she was beat to a jelly. And this is a horrendous thing. But we are able to work that into the story. So that we're giving actually what happened.
Yes, it's documented on
everything is documented in the story, every single thing.
And how do you go to many places? What do you do with this? Do you go to festivals and things?
I go to libraries, historical societies. I've actually been invited into the school systems, and I've done this for the school children. I've gone to maybe 5 or 6 different states and done this story in front of crowds where they've come in to listen to that.
And we're going to show a couple of clips, if you don't mind. You've done a few clips for us. Can you talk us into the first clip? What's happening as this clip is taking off?
The first clip is where they get on the boat, the ship, to come here to the colonies after they have signed their papers. The story starts out with Maggie telling about she and her husband and her children that are still alive to her, and how they are driven off of their home and it burned behind them because the lease has run out, and them traveling the roads and starving, trying to find somewhere to go, finally being offered by a man in a village that you could sign a piece of paper and come here to the colonies, and once you get here the land is free. And so her husband thinks that that's the answer that they need to do, and they sign the papers much against her will, and then they come onto the ship and they make the trip over here. After walking for many days, we finally came to Derry and went straight to the docks as we were told. And there she was, the ship, the Sally she was called, and oh, what a grand ship she was. And oh, what a hubbub there was on the docks, with the sailors shouting back and forth to one another and things being carried on the boat. There was people there too, you know, people that had paid a coin. They were going to ride on top of the boat, go to a new world, get fame or fortune, a new life. But there was people like us there too. People that had been driven out and starving and made a mark on that paper, not to find fame, to find hope. So we took our papers and showed them to the sailors, and they took us onto the ship and they pointed down the ladder into the hold and they said, now get down in there with the other indentures and don't come back up. So we did. We went down that ladder into the darkness and misery that we'd be in the next several weeks. Have you ever been in a hold of a ship like that? Maybe you'll find people you'd have rode on top, wouldn't you? Well, let me tell you what it was like for those that beneath your feet. You see, the hold was a room down in the belly of the ship. Oh, about as long as 5 or 6 tall men laid head to head. It may be as wide as 2 tall ones. But it's only this high, so that you can't stand up in it, you know. You've always got to be down like that, crawling about on your hands or knees, or sitting or lying. By the time we sailed, there was 100 of us in there, mostly men, women, children, few, whatever things they brought with them. They always lost 10 to 20% on the way across.
It must be very hard for you to do this over and over again.
It is. My heart is with the people as they're coming, and with Maggie and her children and her husband and the loss that she goes through while she's here. I can't even imagine losing as much as she did and having to continue on facing every day, knowing that you were a property, just property of another person, would be very difficult. There were several Maggie Delaney's. I'm not the only one, although her story is a compilation of different documentations put together to work into a story.
And as you said, Frank, it's been documented that there was. Tell the story about the girl that was...
There was a girl, her name was actually Alice Sanford, and she was found in the forest with her owner and another man, and she was either injured or for whatever reason couldn't keep up. And so her owner, in a fit of rage, starts beating her, and he beats her to a point that she dies.
And I knew this is where I was going to die. I didn't care. Robbie was gone. What did I have to live for anymore? Well, there finally came a day so cold and so wet, and there I was crouched beneath the wagon again, with my teeth chattering so if I'd set them together I think my head would have rattled clear off. The master was inside at the tavern again, waiting there in the cold I was for him. But the prophets had been poor that day, you see, and he came out far too early. And when he did, he was just looking for something to flay on, and he pulled me out from beneath the wagon, slapped me in the face and said, "Now keep up!" And he went to the front and called out to the beast, and we moved out into the growing darkness and down the road, me stumbling along behind because my feet were so cut and swollen from the ice in the road. And as I stumbled along behind him, I'd catch myself on the back of that wagon, because I knew if I ever fell, I'd never get up again. But at last I missed. Down I went, face first into that mud, got dragged by the neck like that until he could finally get the wagon stopped. And when he came back and found me on my hands and knees trying to get up, all that anger came out at once, and he hit me such a blow in the back that he knocked my breath clean out away from me, and down face I go into the muck and mire of that road, and there I laid. And I guess I didn't move fast enough for him, because he began to kick and to curse and to beat me as I lay there at his feet. And I knew he was going to kill me. But the more he beat and the more he cursed, the more that flame of life inside my chest began to die. And as it died, the strangest thing, you see, I began to not feel the blows or the cold or the muck and mire of the road I was laying in. I could hear it, but it was as though it was a long way away. But I started thinking about my Robbie, and how we had come here to be our own people and to make a place and a home that no one could ever take away from us again. And that this is where it was all coming to. Well, as everything began to fade and go out, I began to hear another voice. And then I hear shouting. And then I felt and heard no more.
Well, we're coming up to the break now, but wasn't that fantastic the way Carol and Frank Jarbo presented the stories of the Irish indentured servants? Don't go away, we'll be back to show you some highlights of the St. Patrick's Day Parade in Cincinnati, and then we're going to venture down to Lexington, Kentucky. Welcome back to the second half of Out and About USA here in Northern Kentucky. Before we head down to Lexington to speak with Pat at the Drumkenny Horse Farm and Lisa from the Fáilte Ireland shop, we're going to show you some of the amazing highlights from the Cincinnati St. Patrick's Day Parade.
Here in Fountain Square, the party is beginning, the people are beginning to gather, and I'm talking to Prudence Hunt. She's one of the organisers of the party here in Fountain Square for St. Patrick's Day Parade. Prudence, how are you?
I'm fine. How are you, May?
You must be very busy.
I am very busy. This is a lot to get done, but it's a labour of love.
I tell you, how many bands have you booked here for today?
6, I think. Could be 7, but we also have dancers.
Wow, and the crowd is beginning to gather up now, and it's going to be a great day, and the weather, I think, is going to...
We have good Irish weather, is that correct?
We have good Irish weather. Well, hopefully it'll stay good. I'm going to be talking to a few people in Molly Malone's later on. There's a big party going on down there. There's parties all over Cincinnati.
Cincinnati is half Irish. We get the claim of being a German town, but we have just as many Irish.
Tell me, who's playing behind us at the minute?
This is Mike Oberst and Jake Book. They also play throughout the day. You'll be able to see them. We have not only people like this duo, but we have Michael Vignoles all the way from Galway, Ireland.
I'll be talking to him later on, I think.
We have the Kells, who are award-winning. They'll be here this afternoon. And then later in the day, we're going to rock with the Blue Rock Boys and Mary's Lane.
Wow. This is going to be one big party. Well, we're going to talk to a few people that have come here for the party. Hello, are you going to be in the parade today?
Yeah.
Are you all excited?
Yeah, really excited.
Are you marching today?
I am marching, very excited. It's the 50th anniversary of our parade here in Cincinnati.
Wow.
So it's really nice to bring it in this way.
Brilliant. 50th anniversary. Ladies.
Yay, go
Irish!
Irish!
Woo-hoo!
Go Irish!
We're having a great day. Are you having a great day, guys?
Yeah.
And are you going to be following St. Patrick all around Cincinnati? Say hello to Ireland and to the world first. Yay! We're talking to James Riley, and he's going to explain to us about a fireman that lost his life tragically, but this particular piece has been presented to the fire and police department. James, tell me all about it.
Yes, we lost poor Darrell about a year and a half ago. We were fighting a fire. He did not get the word that an elevator shaft was open, and he fell down the shaft and died, unfortunately. So his fraternity donated this to the society, and we bring this to every event that we go, and it's going to Ireland with us next week.
I'm sure he would be delighted to know that it's going to, and it's a great tribute to him that you do bring it everywhere.
It is, and it's for every fireman. Right below you see this little plaque here. This is for Patrick Walterman. He died in a fire about 3 months ago as well. So everyone we lose, we'll put on the axe. We have a rifle that will put the police on the rifle.
Well, hopefully, my prayer is that it won't get another for a long, long time. Please, God, keep safe out there.
We will. Thank you very much. See you next week.
Wasn't that exciting to see so many people celebrate St. Patrick's Day Parade here in Cincinnati? The energy in the streets was so electric and so loving. Now let's head down to Lexington, where our first stop is at the Drumkenny Horse Farm to talk to Pat. You own Paramount Sales along with
Gabriel Dignan, yeah, we all call him Spider. But
Spider.
He's from Leitrim. We started it in 2001, and we've sold over $200 million worth of horses.
Wow.
Last year we sold over $28 million worth of horses, so it's good companies that have been.
You've had some famous.
Yes, we sold a world record foal there about 4 years ago. She made 2.4 million. Out of the famous mare, she was our horse of the year from Ireland, a mare called Islington. She won the Breeders' Cup twice, and she was very famous. So
Wow.
that was a big success. We've sold 2 Belmont winners, horses that went on and won the Belmont Stakes in New York.
Yeah.
So we sold some really nice horses, yeah.
So, how many more horses now have you here on the?
Paramount sells the guts of over 500 horses per year. I have a little farm here myself. We have 27 acres, and I keep my own horses here. We do what's called pin hooking, which is buying foals and sell them as yearlings, and I have about 10 of them here, and I have 5 mares here as well that I keep the foals out and sell the foals out.
Who's this guy? This is
a colt by Candy Ride. Candy Ride is a stallion that stands at Lane's End for 50,000, and I bought him in November. The mother's name is Multitasker.
Yeah.
And so he'll go to September sales and hopefully do well.
Well, you don't get attached to any of them.
You do, you like the ones, yeah, I do like some of them. You do get attached, but you have to sell. It's a business, you know, so we have to sell, yeah. Well, you always feel like you're part of them even when they go on and race, you know.
Do you keep kind of track of their successes?
Yes, we do. There's a daily magazine comes out called the TDN, Thoroughbred Daily News, and all the results are from around the country, are racing, and Europe are in it. It's really not a huge business, so everybody knows everybody. I know most of the Irish people, and got a lot of people that do business with us from Ireland.
Lovely. I saw a small young foal.
Yes.
Tell me about that young foal.
He's 3 weeks old about. His daddy's name is Scat Daddy, and Scat Daddy stood last year. His stud fee was 35,000. Very, very nice foal, very excited. Unfortunately, his daddy died here this past fall, and he's a very, very successful sire. He's part of Coolmore, who are in Ireland. he was owned by Ashford, which is in Lexington. Yes.
Pat, it was great to come down here. It's great for me to be down in kind of a rural setting.
Yes,
It's kind of like being at home.
Yeah, it is actually. Lexington is an awful lot like Ireland, I suppose, as close as we come around the States here to Ireland.
You've got a great Irish community down
fantastic Irish community. A lot of them do work in the horse business here, and they're all our friends, and we're a great community. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having us down in, what's the name of the farm?
Drumkenny. My wife is Scottish. She's from a place called Drumnadrochid, just outside Inverness, and I'm from Kilkenny, so we stuck the two of them together.
How exciting was that? Now we're just going to pop into the Fáilte Ireland shop here in Lexington and have a word with its owner, Lisa Henley-Pitts. You're here in Lexington from where?
From Dublin, Stillorgan, Southside, yeah. Been here, came for 3 weeks, and I'm here almost 20 years now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Right. And you've been here in Lexington all
The whole
that time?
yeah.
And you're married?
Yeah, married now. We're together about 14 years, married about almost 10 years, so.
Fantastic.
2 kids now and everything, so.
So you're a busy one? You're a busy woman?
Yeah.
How long have you been in the shop?
I had this shop since 2001, so this is going into our 15th year.
Wow, Lisa,
Yeah.
that's fantastic.
Yeah.
How did it come about?
Well, I was working, when I first arrived in Kentucky, I got a job next door in the pub in McCarthy's, and bartending there and just talking to people, realised there was a calling for it, you know, because the one thing when you move from Ireland, the thing you miss is your food, you know.
Oh, the sausages and
the sausages and the bread and just everything. So it
yeah.
came back to sausages, really, you know.
The sausages?
Yeah, that was the big thing that everyone missed, you know.
Yeah.
So I started with the sausages, and then everything else kind of like happened around the sausages, but it's still our number one seller.
Yeah, because you do jewellery and
We
clothing.
do, yeah. So we've a lot in Kentucky, in Lexington, Kentucky particularly, we've a lot of off the boat Irish, you know, it's off the boat, and they come over with the horses. So they would be a lot of the food, and then you've got people of Irish heritage, a lot of people of Irish heritage settled here. So that's why we have all the jewellery and everything else.
And would you have a lot of tourists other than Irish descent or Irish people?
Yeah, and we do. We've a lot of tourists that come in. Kentucky has got a lot of. I mean, it's very similar to Ireland, and there's a lot of people come in and travel and drop in and stuff. So yeah.
Well, when I was coming up here, Lisa, I noticed that the whole block seems to be Irish. Or am I mistaken?
No, you're right. We've taken over. We're the little Irish mafia over here.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Tell us about the whole...
Well, it started with McCarthy's, and then eventually McCarthy's just kind of bought all the buildings, and then where my building is, we've got this bar as well, and then their sister owns another bar on the street and a nightclub.
So a little bit about the shop. We said that you sell rashers and sausages and all the good stuff. What else do you sell in the shop?
So we have a bit of clothing, that sells pretty well, and everything from like Aran sweaters to, you know, the cheesy t-shirts that have to be sold and done.
Yeah.
And also we have lots of jewellery. We sell lots and lots.
And
of
would
jewellery.
they be all handmade?
The jewellery comes from a company, Solvar, and they make it. And we've got about 3 or 4 different companies that do jewellery, and they're all different price ranges. And yeah, some are definitely handmade.
And is it hard for you to get stuff in from Ireland, or is there no problem about doing that?
Well, you know, there's a North American Celtic Buyers Association that I joined when I started, and there's most of the shops. I think there's like 150 to 200 that are members of this trade association, and they help us like just stay connected. And if there's like a hat I'm looking for, I've got a customer that bought a hat online, and like, oh, I'm out of that one, I'll get on the forum and ask does anybody have it, and they're like, yeah, I'll ship it to you tomorrow. So we all help each other out, and it's like a little community. So it's actually a lot easier than you would think.
And would you ship goods to people if they needed it?
Oh yeah, our website, it's like when you get an extra sale on your website, it's like, oh yay, it's like,
what's your website?
lexirish.com.
Well, we've come to the end of this week's programme. Check us out on the web, www.irishtv.ie, and keep tuned to our Out and About in the USA programmes.